Okay, welcome to lesson 13. The title of this lesson is, let's just look at the whole thing. Summarizing bivariate categorical data in a two-way table. Okay, so that sounds kind of technical, and it might be, but I think you'll get the hang of it. So what we have here is we have bivariate, right, means two variables, but we're going to start with just one. To kind of get the idea of it. And categorical data is data that's arranged into categories. Okay, so let's look at our first example to see an idea of categories. So categories of ice cream is what we're going to talk about in the first example. And we've got chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. Okay, so on an upcoming, let's just look at it. On an upcoming field trip day at school, the principal wants to provide ice cream during lunch. She will offer 3 flavors, chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. She selected your class to complete a survey to help her determine how much of each flavor to buy. Answer the following question. So if we were in class, I would get your input as to what your favorite flavor is, and that would be a sampling for the entire school to help the principal predict how much of each to get. So since we don't have that, I'm going to give you some numbers instead of having you raise your hand and tell me. Okay, so you can copy down this data. We're going to say that of the people surveyed, 17 wanted chocolate, 4 wanted strawberry, and 7 wanted vanilla. So there were a total of 28 students who took the survey. So those 3 should add up to 28, right? 17 plus 7 is 24, plus another 4 is 28. So we could, looking at that data, ask some question. What ice cream flavor do most students prefer? The answer would be chocolate, right? More students chose chocolate than any other flavor. I'm going to fill this in again. So we got 17, 4, 7, 28. Which ice cream flavor, oh, we already did that one, sorry. So chocolate, let's move on. Which ice cream flavor do the fewest students prefer? Okay, this is pretty simple here. Okay, what percentage of students preferred each flavor? Round to the nearest 0.1%. Okay, so here you're going to have to remember what a percentage is. So remember, a percentage is just a part out of 100, you know, so what part out of 100 would that be? So we're going to convert these to percentages. So it's 17 out of 28. So how many out of 100 would that be? So what I want to do is do the division and get the decimal approximation. So I'm going to do 17 divided by 28. Okay, and this would be a reasonable thing to use a calculator for. So if I do this division, I'm going to get 0.607, as far as I'll take it out. 0.607, so this is approximately, right, because I'm rounding it off, which is equal to 60.7%, okay? So this is 60 hundredths, right, so 60%. Remember that? And so what percentage of students preferred each flavor? So this is for chocolate. Okay, so you should pause the video and do the other 2 flavors just to practice converting these to percentages. All right, so for strawberry then, this would be 4 over 28, which is approximately, and I'm going to go straight to the percentage now, that would be 14.3% for strawberry. strawberry. And then I'm running out of room here. I would have 7 over 28, which actually I can get that exactly right because that is 1/4. That simplifies to 1/4, right? 7/28. So that is equal to exactly 25, 25%, 0.25, which is 25%. Okay, so I've got, and that would be for vanilla. 25% for vanilla, 14.3 for strawberry, and 60.7 for chocolate. All right, so let's look at number 5. Do the numbers in the chart above summarize data on a categorical variable or a numerical variable? Okay, so this might not be something that you have had before, but we have numbers on these charts, okay? But the variable itself is a category. The variable is the flavor. So the variable is categorical. Okay, it's a categorical variable. Because it's in categories of ice cream: chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. And the numbers represent frequencies. So this is a frequency table, and we'll be talking a lot more about that. But the numbers represent frequencies of the choices of the categories. Okay, so it's a little bit different. There's numbers involved, but it's not a numerical variable. Some examples of numeric variables would be the height of the plant, the speed of the car. Those are numbers. The actual variable stands for a number. These variables are categories. So we treat them a little bit differently. Okay, so let's look here at example 1. Okay, I skipped 3 questions, so we'll do example 1 in a minute. But look at question 6, and this may, some of you may not have had lessons on this idea of random sampling. So let's just read the class. Do the students in your class represent a random sample of all students in your school? Why or why not? Discuss this with your neighbor. Okay, so when researchers want to take a sampling to make predictions about an entire population, they generally do it, they try to do it randomly. Picking your whole class or our whole class is not a random way to pick students. So this is not a random sample. So we could say no, students were not picked randomly. And there's a whole science that goes into picking random samples so that you don't come up with a biased conclusion about what's going on. So no, students were not picked randomly. Okay, there might be a specific reason why they're in your class. And he wants to draw conclusions about the whole school. So students were not picked randomly. Is your class representative of all the other classes at your school? Why or why not? And this would be something to think about and talk to somebody about. So, and there could be a number of opinions about this. So, I would say maybe not, okay? Maybe not. You could say we're all 8th graders, and younger students might have different preferences, might tend to have different preferences. Okay, younger students might like different things, okay, different things. For instance, I know I have a young granddaughter. Her concern is that it's pink. So she, you know, she would probably choose strawberry just because it's pink. Whereas, you know, as kids get older, they realize, hey, I really like chocolate, even though it's brown. So, just sampling the 8th grade class might not give us a good representation of the entire school. Okay, so, well, that gets into question 8. Do you think your principal will get an accurate estimate of the proportion of students that prefer each ice cream flavor for the whole school using only your class? Why or why not? So, you know, we could say it's unlikely. It's unlikely that he will, but maybe he'll get close enough. It depends. It depends on how representative your class is or this particular class is of the whole school. Okay, so now let's look at example 1. All right, so students in a different class were asked the same question about their favorite ice cream flavor. The table below shows the ice cream flavors and the number of students who chose each flavor for that particular class. This table is called a one-way frequency table because it shows the counts of a univariate categorical variable, okay? So we've got one variable here, type of ice cream, okay? It's a categorical variable, and these are the counts for number of students. Those are the counts for each of the variables. So we call it frequency because it's how often did students choose chocolate? How often did they choose strawberry and vanilla? Okay, so this was a class of 25 students, and here are their choices. We compute the relative frequency for each ice, and we're going to talk more about that, by dividing the count by the total number of observations. So we divide the count by the total number. Now this was a lot like getting the percentage, right? This is something that we did in the process of getting the percentage. All right, so 11 out of 25 students answered chocolate. The relative frequency would be 11 divided by 25, or 44 hundredths, okay, 0.44. And so this relative frequency shows that 44% of the class prefers chocolate ice cream. In other words, the relative frequency is the proportional value that each category is out of the whole. So out of the whole, 44 out of 100 choose chocolate. All right, so let's see. Okay, I just wanted to say one more word about this idea of a relative frequency. So the actual frequency for chocolate is 11, but that doesn't really give us the whole picture unless we know out of how many students where that number came from. 11 out of 100, 11 out of 50. No, it was 11 out of 25 chose chocolate. And so that relative frequency gives us more information than just the actual count, the frequency itself. All right, so in exercises 9 through 10, you're asked to use the table, and for number 9, find the relative frequency for the category strawberry, and then write a sentence interpreting the relative frequency value in the context of strawberry ice cream preference. So tell what that frequency means as far as like what percentage of students and that sort of thing. So just what was done in the example for chocolate, but do it for strawberry. Okay, so pause the video now and work on that. Okay, so hopefully you have an answer for that, and I'm gonna abbreviate. The relative frequency for strawberry is equal to the frequency, the count. 4 students preferred strawberry out of 25. Okay, and if I do that division, 4 out of 25 is 16 hundredths. Okay, and I can kind of see that. If I multiplied top and bottom by 4, I'd get 1600ths, or the decimal approximation, the decimal representation is 0.16. Okay, so write a sentence interpreting that relative frequency. Well, 16% of students in the class prefer strawberry. Okay. Okay, now let's look at example 2, and we'll read it together and do a couple of these exercises together. The principal also wondered if boys and girls have different favorite ice cream flavors. She decided to redo the survey by taking a random sample of students from the school and recording both their favorite ice cream flavor and their gender. She asked the following 2 questions. Which of the following ice cream flavors is your favorite, chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla? And what is your gender, male or female? So here are the results of the survey. There were 30 students who preferred chocolate ice cream, and 22 are males. Of the 30 students who prefer chocolate, 22 are males. Of the 25 who prefer strawberry, 15 are females. Did I say 25? 25. Of the 27 who prefer vanilla, 13 are males. Okay, so the values of 2 variables, which were ice cream, flavor, and gender, were recorded in this survey. Since both of the variables are categorical, the data are called bivariate categorical data, which is the title of our lesson, right? So there are 2 variables here. The first variable is flavor of ice cream. The second variable is gender. Okay, so there are 3 categories for flavor of ice cream and 2 categories for gender. And we will have values for each of those. So exercise 11 asks, can we display these data in a one-way frequency table? So remember, back here we said that this table here is called a one-way frequency table. Because there was one variable, which is ice cream flavor, and we just looked at the number of students who preferred each of those. So we looked at frequencies for one variable. But now we're looking at frequencies for 2 variables, so a one-way frequency table will not work. So we could say no. We could say this, this is bivariate data, so we're going to need a different table. Okay, so let's continue. So, exercise 12. Summarize the results of the second survey of favorite ice cream flavors in the following table. Okay, so we have the 2 variables, one being gender on the side here, male and female, one being favorite ice cream flavor, and we'll have frequencies for each of these cells. Each one of these boxes here is a cell on this table, and we'll have totals. We'll have totals for the males, totals for females, totals for vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what goes in each of these cells based on the information we were given. So let me see, I'm going to go back so I can see that. There are 30 of the 30 students who prefer chocolate ice cream, 22 are males. Okay, so we know that the total who prefer chocolate, and that's going to go, so there's chocolate, the total number of people who preferred chocolate was 30. So we can fill that in. And of those 30, 22 were males. So we can fill in the next slot too. If 22 were males, then 8 had to have been females. Okay, so for the information we're given for strawberry and vanilla ice cream, I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can fill in the rest of the cells on this table. Okay, so you've had time to do that. So there were 25 students who preferred strawberry, and 15 were female. So that means 10 were male. Has to add up to 25. And there were 27 students who preferred vanilla. And of those, 13 are males. So 14 are females. So our totals have to add up. So we can also figure out our totals going the other way. So in this cell right here, right, this one, we're going to have the total number of males in the survey. And in this cell, the total number of females. Okay? So it looks like we've got 22, 32, 42, 45 boys, or 45 males, and fewer females. We've got 29 and 8 is 37 girls in the survey. So that would be a total of 82 people altogether. Adding the boys and the girls together, that's 82. And then that should also, this row here, if we've done it right, should also add up to 82. So we've got 30, 55, 75, wait a minute. Where am I? There's the 12, 75, yeah, plus 7 is 82. Okay, so just as a double check, we can do that. Okay, so this next table is organized exactly the same, except in this table, instead of recording frequencies, we're going to record those relative frequencies. Relative frequencies, remember, are the number of observations, you know, or the number, so we observe, you know, 22 boys liking chocolate ice cream out of the total. Okay, we're going to call those cell relative frequencies because we're going to do these differently. Turns out when you collect data this way, there's a lot of questions you could ask about the data and different ways you could go with it. So it's kind of interesting. So for this first one then, this very first cell, we had 22 males who preferred chocolate, and we had 82 total people in our survey. Okay, so the frequency of males who like chocolate is 22 out of 82, which is, you know, that's about a fourth of the people in the survey were in that category. And that comes out to approximately a frequency of 0.27. So we're going to round these off to the hundredths place. And so I'd like you to go through and calculate for each of these cells what the relative frequency is. Okay, so about a fourth of the people in the survey, or 27%, 27 hundredths, are males who prefer chocolate. Okay, so complete the rest of the table. There are 8 more for you to fill in there, and then we'll do the totals together. Well, actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more cells for you to fill in, and then we'll work on the totals together and talk about what those mean. Okay, so go ahead and pause now and do that. Okay, so here are the rest of those cells filled in with relative frequencies. And so we can see that about 12% of the people in the survey were males who preferred strawberry. About 10% of the survey were females who preferred chocolate. Okay, so we can add up these column frequencies. If we add these up, we're going to find that we get about 55 here, approximately 0.55. And we could do this the same way as we do the other. This is, for this particular cell, I'm going to take 45. There were 45 males divided by 82 is 55% or 0.55. For females, the survey was 45. So there were more males in our survey. This adds up to 1, which is, that's our 100%, right? Okay, so then down here, down below, we've got approximately 0.37. We've got approximately 0.30, and then 0.33. Okay, so, and that's telling us that 37% overall preferred chocolate, 30% preferred strawberry, and 33% preferred vanilla overall for both genders. Okay, and those should add up to 1 also. That's our 100%. Okay, so maybe I'm giving away a little too much here. So let's look here and answer some questions. So there's quite a few questions we can ask from this frequency table. Number 14, what is the proportion of students that prefer chocolate ice cream? Okay, so students preferring chocolate ice cream, that's going to be both boys and girls, right? So we want to follow, let me get my pointer here. This is total, what do we want? Students that prefer chocolate ice cream. So here is the number that preferred chocolate, the total that preferred chocolate, and then we would want to divide that by the total in the survey. So that would be the frequency in this cell right here. So it'd be 37%. We've already done the math on that. So this would be 0.37, or think of it as 37%. All right, what is the proportion of students that are female and prefer vanilla ice cream? So looking back, where would we find that? So we know it's going to be in, this row, right? So the proportion of students that are female, and I'll go down to this because it's got our frequencies. Females who prefer vanilla ice cream would be 0.17. Okay, now write a sentence explaining the meaning of the approximate relative frequency 0.55. So going back to our table, we have to find the cell that has 0.55 in it, and it's right here. It's this one. So what is that 0.55 telling us? I'd prefer if you paused and thought about it, and while you're at it, you can think about the next one. What is the meaning of the approximate relative frequency 0.10? So where is that on our table? The 0.10 would be in this cell. Okay, so what is this relative frequency telling us, and what is this relative frequency telling us? Okay, so I've recorded sample responses here for you. The meaning of the relative frequency 5500ths is that about 55% of the students surveyed are males. And then for the 0.1 or the 1/10, about 10% of students surveyed are females who prefer chocolate. Okay, so again, that one's right here. Females who prefer chocolate and this is total males in the survey. All right, with this data that has been collected, and it's printed here again for our reference, there's more that we can glean from this data. So let's keep going. In the previous exercises, we used the total number of students in the survey to calculate the relative frequencies. In other words, we were always dividing by 82. It was, some number divided by 82 because we were getting the relative frequency of the total students in the survey. These relative frequencies were the proportion of the whole group who answered the survey a certain way. Sometimes we use row or column totals to calculate relative frequency, and we call these row relative frequencies or column relative frequencies. So here's the two-way frequency table again. To calculate the proportion of male students that prefer chocolate ice cream. So now we're just focused on boys, just only boys. We're going to take 22 out of 45. So there were 22 boys who like chocolate out of 45 total boys. So that gives us a frequency of 0.49. Okay, so instead of using the 82, we use just the boys. So this gives us this answers a different question, right? It tells us what percentage of boys prefer chocolate, or the way it's phrased here, the proportion of male students that prefer chocolate ice cream, which is different than saying 22 out of 82 are boys who prefer chocolate. All right, let's go on and we'll see where this comes into play. Okay, so let's look at 18. Okay, so let's look at exercise 18, and this is going to expand on what we've just read. So in exercise 13, we use the total number of students to calculate relative frequencies. These relative frequencies were the proportion of the whole group who answered the survey in a certain way. Suppose you are interested in the proportion of male students that prefer chocolate ice cream. How is this value different from the proportion of students that are male and prefer chocolate ice cream? So I'd like you to pause and talk to somebody about that if you can, or just think about it on your own. What is the difference? How is that a different question being asked? All the words seem pretty similar, right? We've got males, chocolate, and proportion, but we have to think about precisely, there's really precise language being used here, and what does it mean? Okay, so originally we had 22 divided by 82, and that gave us approximately 0.27 for the relative frequency. And then if we do it with just the number of boys in the survey, we get 22 out of 45, which is approximately 49%. So what is the difference between these? Okay, which matches to which? So we've got the proportion of male students that prefer chocolate ice cream, or the proportion of students that are male and prefer chocolate ice cream. Okay, so this one, 27% of students in the survey are males who prefer chocolate. Okay. 49% of the males in the survey prefer chocolate. Okay, do you see how this is asking a different question? 27% of the total students in the survey are males who prefer chocolate, but 49% of the males in the survey, got an extra letter there, in the survey prefer chocolate. All right, so this one, let me use some color here. Let's use some orange. So this one, this statement is equivalent to this statement. And then let's get a different color here. We'll get purple. This statement here is this one, the proportion of male students that prefer chocolate ice cream. So think about that for a while. We're not used to using real precise language, and this requires us to, but it also shows you that there's so much information that you could get out of a data table like this one. Okay, so number 19, use the table provided to calculate the following relative frequencies. What proportion of students that prefer vanilla ice cream is female? Okay, so of the students that prefer vanilla ice cream, what proportion is female? There's another way to say that. All right, pause the video and work on that. Okay, so to set up this proportion, or this relative frequency, I need to know, it says what proportion of students that prefer vanilla ice cream is female, all right? So I need to know the total who prefer vanilla ice cream first. Okay, so it's this proportion. This is what this is asking, is to say, of the total who prefer vanilla, how many of those are females preferring vanilla? So this becomes the females who preferred vanilla, there were 14 of them, and the total who preferred vanilla was 27. So that frequency is in our table, 0.52. Okay. Okay, so don't feel bad if it takes you reading these sentences a couple times to see what really is being asked on them. But it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of think of it as a puzzle. So this is a relative frequency right here, but it's based on just the total who prefer vanilla. We're not worrying about those who like chocolate or strawberry. Just of those who like vanilla, it looks like a little over half, but almost half of them were females. Okay, another one. What proportion of male students prefers strawberry ice cream? So we're going to have, so our proportion is out of the number of males, and then the number within that, the number who like strawberry. But they're just going to be boys there, right? So what is this? So if we go back and look at our table, you can look at yours. So out of 45 males, what proportion of male students prefer strawberry? There were 10. So this is approximately 0.22. And so I would say 22% of male students in this survey prefer strawberry ice cream. Okay, so we could ask the same question, except insert female. What proportion of female students prefers strawberry ice cream? Well, in the survey, how many females did we have? We had 37. And the ones who preferred strawberry, there were 15 of them. Okay, so 15 out of 37 is approximately 41 hundredths. Okay, so 41%. They didn't ask us to write a sentence this time, but we could say 41% of female students in the survey prefer strawberry. What proportion of students who prefer strawberry ice cream is female? So this is going to be the strawberry people, all the strawberry people, and the number of females in that group. Okay, so let's go back to our table. All right, so we're talking about all the people who like strawberry, so that's these people. There are 25 of them. And what proportion of those is female? Well, it's 15 out of 25. So let's go back. So this is going to be 15 out of 25 gives us that proportion. So this is 60%, or 0.6, sorry. 0.6 over, but it is 60%. So we would say 60% of students who prefer strawberry ice cream are female. That would be one way to say that. Okay, there's a lot of questions we can ask from this data. I wasn't lying to you. Okay, so a student is selected at random from this school. Would you predict this student's favorite? What would you predict this student's favorite ice cream to be? Explain why you chose this flavor. Okay, so any student at random. So let's go back to our table. We could even go back to, well, anyway, so that would be, we would be looking at this row total, because we don't know if they're a boy or a girl, right? So of total students, just some random student, I asked them what flavor they like. Chocolate is the most common, 30 as opposed to 25 or 27. So if I had to make a guess, I would guess chocolate. I would predict chocolate. Okay, because of total students, more students chose chocolate than any other flavor. All right, now suppose the randomly selected student is a boy. What would you predict his favorite flavor of ice cream to be? And explain why you chose this flavor. Okay, well, I would still predict chocolate, but maybe for a different reason. Let's go back and look at the table again. I would predict chocolate because if I look at the row with just boys, now I know it's a boy. Still, chocolate is the favorite of just the boys in this row. So I could say because more boys chose chocolate over other flavors. Okay, so you know what's coming now, right? Suppose the randomly selected student is a female. What would you predict her favorite flavor to be? So now we go back. Now we're going to look at this row here. So I'm no longer going to choose chocolate because of females, more chose strawberry than chocolate or vanilla. So my answer changes if I know that I have a girl that I'm with. So I would predict strawberry. Okay, reason being because more female students chose strawberry in the survey. Okay, just kind of to summarize what we've looked at, we've talked about categorical data, and one of our examples was ice cream flavors. And we saw we could have univariate categorical data, so this was where we were just looking at students, so there was no distinction between boys and girls. And we could use a one-way table for that. But the bivariate categorical data required us to have a two-way table so that we could record the responses for boys and girls, okay? And of course, this is just one example of this. All right, so we calculated relative frequencies. That was where we took the frequency or the count for any given response on the survey or whatever it is, not always a survey, but the frequency divided by the total. So that would give us kind of what we could express as a percentage of the total. And when we started, and we did this at first, we did cell relative frequencies is what we were calling them. And that was the cell frequency divided by the total. So this is where, remember, we had 82 in the survey, and we took the cell frequency and divided it, okay? So those were percentages of the total surveyed in this case. But we also have row or column relative frequencies, and this is where you took the cell frequency, so once again, the number of observations of that certain variable. But this time we just calculated out of the total of the row. So this was, in the rows we had boys and girls, so this would be like those who like chocolate out of total boys. And then the column relative frequency would be something like how many girls out of total that like strawberry. So column totals were used instead of the total in the survey. So, and all of those numbers, when we calculated them, they answered different questions. So we saw examples of that. If this is confusing to you, I would just encourage you to just read and reread these questions to see what is the whole, what should go on the bottom of my frequency, relative frequency when I'm calculating it. Okay, so it's usually the language is given away in the problem. So hang in there, you'll get it. Okay. And it's good practice in reading carefully and comprehending what's being asked. Okay, good luck with lesson 13. And we have one more lesson in this module. So we're going to continue on this theme of categorical data for one more lesson, and then you'll be ready for the end of module assessment.